welcome to the Family Scapegoating Abuse Education channel. I'm Rebecca Mandeville, psychotherapist and author of Rejected, Shamed, and Blamed: Help and Hope for Adults in the Family Scapegoat Role. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the myths that I encounter regarding family scapegoating. And I'd like to help clear up some of those myths so we can get to the facts. I hope you'll join me, and remember to like this video and subscribe. The first myth I'd like to address is the myth that scapegoating only happens in narcissistic family systems. While it's true that scapegoating is often associated with narcissistic family dynamics, the fact is that scapegoating can happen in any dysfunctional family. And this can be because of intergenerational trauma that's unrecognized, unresolved, unaddressed. It can happen when there's a personality disordered parent, borderline personality disorder, or histrionic personality disorder, often, again, unrecognized, undiagnosed, unaddressed. It's important to recognize this because there's a lot of scapegoated adults or adult children, survivors of family scapegoating, who don't relate at all to having a narcissistic parent or coming from a narcissistic family system. And so that's always been something that's been very helpful when clients come to me or after they've read my book, that they relate with every feature in what I name family scapegoating abuse qualities and dynamics identified in my research on FSA, and yet they don't relate to having had a narcissistic parent. So hopefully clearing up this first myth will be valuable information to some of you out there who might be wondering if you're suffering from family scapegoating abuse and yet don't relate to having a narcissistic parent. Let's move on to myth 2. Here's a myth I hear a lot. And honestly, I wish it were true, but it's not. And this second myth is the myth that family members who scapegoat you always know they're scapegoating you, or that they're hurting you or harming you. If that were true, then there would be some hope that one day they might see what they're doing, or you could explain it to them and get them to see, or a therapist could get them to see. And then there might be some sort of family resolution. The scapegoating might stop. But what we know from family systems research on what's called the identified patient, or the family IP, the problem child in the family, or the scapegoat child or adult child, is that they are driven by what's called a family projection process. And again, this has been researched on. And often the scapegoating is an unconscious projection process whereby the family is depositing its unrecognized, unconscious anxiety, or even intergenerational trauma or individualized trauma, perhaps a traumatized parent. They had a loss of a parent when they were young, or they developed narcissism due to trauma in childhood, that they are not aware at all that they are involved in this family projection process. And what that means for you, if you are the scapegoated adult child in your family, is unfortunately they actually believe all these things that are attached and associated to the scapegoat narrative. The scapegoat narrative would be things that you would hear about often through finding out about a smear campaign. Typical stories that are identified with scapegoat narratives are: you're crazy, you're a liar, if you're sick, you're faking it, you're dramatic, you're histrionic, you can't be trusted, you want attention, you can't get over your childhood, you are a thief. I've had clients accused of stealing family heirlooms at funerals when they did no such thing, which there's a reason that this can happen after a death occurs in a family, which I'll address later. But they honestly, sadly believe these things about you. I mean, you laugh or you cry. It's tragic. But they believe these things about you, and you can talk to you're blue in the face, and you probably have already tried, and it got you nowhere, I'm guessing. Am I right? Let's go on to myth 3. The third myth I want to address is very important. There can be an idea in the therapeutic community that family therapy can help the scapegoated adult. That would be the case if the family member scapegoating you had been doing lots of therapeutic work to realize that they are unconsciously participating in a family projection process, and they realize they have caused harm, and part of the family therapy could be the amends process and hopefully healing for everyone involved. But what's often true for the scapegoated adult drawn into family therapy and maybe encouraged to do family therapy by their own individual therapist is they are a lamb led to slaughter. The therapist leading these sessions often can be overwhelmed by the scapegoat story, the scapegoat narrative. The family will try to convince the therapist and get the therapist to align with them that you're the problem. And clients that have come to me who went through this in the past before they met me have been re-traumatized by these meetings. And many scapegoated adults are actually suffering from complex trauma. So this type of re-traumatization can be severe and what we call in the medical field iatrogenic, meaning that what was supposed to help or cure actually causes harm and damages. So be careful about getting drawn into family therapy. The only way I would recommend it, even if your family is suggesting that they've seen the light and want to do some kind of repair in these meetings, is that you show up to these family therapy meetings with your individual therapist who is coordinating treatment with the family systems therapist. Let's go to myth 4. Here's a myth sometimes the scapegoated adult survivor, or what I call the FSA adult survivor, believes. And it's an important myth to bust because your healing may be depending on it. You may believe that you cannot fully heal unless your family recognizes and acknowledges their mistreatment of you, their psycho-emotional abuse of you, and does some kind of repair process with you, that they recognize it and acknowledge it. Now, of course, that's really important because if you're going to stay associated with your family and they don't recognize that they're scapegoating you, and scapegoating is a form of invisible abuse, then you're going to continue to be abused. So I understand how important it is that you want them to recognize the harm that they're causing you, but they are unlikely to ever be able to do so. First of all, they'd have to get interested in family systems theory and be curious about the family projection process and intergenerational trauma. That's unlikely to happen based on at least my client's experience. I've worked with people over 20 years now. And they would have to have the what we call ego strength to be able to own their part and say, oh my gosh, we did this. As a family, we did this to you. You were the recipient of the shadow, the dark, disowned parts of the family psyche, so to speak, the multi-generational transmission of trauma, of pain, of maladaptive and dysfunctional behavior patterns that all landed on you, like a toxic, poisonous family recipe that you were forced to eat. It's unlikely that they will have that kind of ego strength, although at times individual family members might. It could be a sibling, extended family member. I've seen, for example, a father be able to acknowledge the harms done after the, say, narcissistic spouse. The mother is gone, dead, buried, and they have the wherewithal to be able to admit that they were not able to stop the behaviors that were harming their child. But it's very rare that I see this happen. And this is why we talk about limiting contact or going no contact, because frankly, if you want to become mentally and emotionally healthy, that may be the only choice you have. Let's talk about myth 5. Myth 5, which is the last myth I'll cover in this video, could be a hard one for you to hear, but it's a myth that I need to expose. There is no self-help book, including mine, which if you notice, I did not do a recovery section. Do these steps and you will be better. I recommended the types of treatment that you would need to seek out to get better, but it would be very rare and atypical for a self-help book to help you heal fully so you can live the life you were meant to live and deserve to live. It's just not going to happen. This is because if you've experienced what I've named family scapegoating abuse, it's really, in my opinion, the worst kind of invisible abuse a human being could endure. And you need to be assisted by somebody who can work with you to assess you for complex trauma, which most FSA adult survivors have, and help you heal from that complex trauma. And that's why I say in my book multiple times, it's critical that you seek out trauma-informed care. And yes, there are therapists who, including myself, have low-fee slots that they offer to people that are financially challenged. Believe it or not, you can find competent therapists on the online therapy services. You may have to go through 2 or 3, unfortunately, that's the case, but most people I know eventually find someone knowledgeable. Marriage family therapist usually will have the most training in family systems, but that's not always true. And someone with internal family systems training, regardless of their particular type of license, often will be very, very helpful and will understand parts and family roles, which is important for recovering from this type of family abuse. But it's going to be very hard to do it on your own. Forums are helpful. You can get some great support through Facebook groups, Twitter, very knowledgeable and informed people on Twitter, I find, and great support even from authors of some of these self-help books. And I try to do my part even with these free offerings here, but nothing can take the place of working one-on-one with a trauma-informed therapist who understands family scapegoating and can help you heal from this terribly egregious form of psycho-emotional abuse. So those are the first 5 myths I hope to bust. And thank you for watching. If you got something out of this, tell other people about it. Forums you're on that help support scapegoated adults. Like the video so YouTube pays attention to it. And most importantly, I hope you'll subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll be getting videos out regularly. Check out my affirmations video, volume 1. I've gotten some great feedback on that. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.